I'm always looking for opportunities to not be obsessed with the amount of choices that we have now as consumers. And when I trust a brand and they make a new product, I'm going to trust that category more. Maybe I don't have to think as much about all their competitors and just go with that choice.
Marketing Architects.
Hello, and welcome to the Marketing Architects, a research-first podcast dedicated to answering your toughest marketing questions. I'm Elena Jasper. I run the marketing team here at Marketing Architects, and I'm joined by my co-hosts, Angela Voss, the CEO of Marketing Architects, and Rob DeMars, the Chief Product Architect of Misfits and Machines.
Hi there.
Hello. We're back with our thoughts on some recent marketing news, always trying to root our opinions in data, research, and what drives business results. Today, we're talking about brand extensions, which are defined by Marketing Week as introducing a new product in a category that is new to your brand. This is different from line extensions, or when a brand introduces variations within an existing product category, such as new flavors or sizes. A brand extension carries higher risk, but it can be less damaging to your core brand if it fails, because these venture into new territory rather than changing existing successful products. I'm going to kick us off, as I always do, with some research, but before we get into that, this episode was inspired by Rob's enthusiasm for Dyson's recent brand extension. So Rob, could you tell us about how this brand extension caught your eye?
Yeah, I was nerding out on one of my normal nerd tech websites, and they were doing a shout out for the fact that Dyson, who everyone knows for making amazing vacuum cleaners, they were coming out with high-end headphones. I'm like, what? Headphones? And I got to tell you, they look freaking cool. They're just straight out of some high-end design magazine. And at first I'm like, why is Dyson making headphones? They're the vacuum cleaner company. But really, the more I thought about it, they're kind of the build a better mousetrap company. I remember hearing James Dyson talk about this on the Tim Ferriss show a while back. His obsession, just absolute obsession for improving the vacuum cleaner, led to innovations that were completely unrelated to the area, like hand dryers and air purifiers. My wife absolutely loves her Dyson hair dryer. I think it's another perfect example of how Dyson just has this knack for breakthrough innovations. At first, it seemed shocking, and then I'm like, actually makes perfect sense.
Elena, do you have the Dyson Air Wrap or anything like that?
So I don't, but I think that's a great example of how important marketing is to brand extensions. I've seen it everywhere. So they've done a great job promoting it. Do you have it?
My daughter has the Air Wrap, and I really hesitated in buying it because I had heard that it doesn't hold curl great, and it actually doesn't. She still loves it, and it's easy to do. It's fast to do if you got a ton of hair, which she does. But even before we got that, I fell out of love with the Dyson vacuum cleaner. I refuse to be corded when I'm vacuuming anything. So there's been like battery issues, and yet I still got the Dyson fan, which is phenomenal. And we've used that around the house.
But it is an amazing brand. If you ever have a service issue, you go there, you literally just hand them your vacuum cleaner. They come back with it all fixed. They don't charge you anything. It's amazing.
Those of us that don't live that close, it's not as convenient for us, but I just want it to work. It's just like one of those things, like, I just need you to do your job.
Now everyone probably realizes why we chose this as a topic, because it can easily spark conversations. But I'd say Dyson is probably an example of a company that's been successful at brand extensions. And we're going to share more examples today of successes, but also the failures. And we're actually going to start with some research. Lucky for me, there's a lot to choose from on this topic. I ended up choosing a paper called Brand Extensions, a Qualitative Meta-Analysis of 20 Years of Marketing Research. This is by Dr. Elise Prosser from the University of San Diego and Melissa St. James from California State University, San Bernardino. They start by giving some examples of successful brand extensions, like Apple introducing the iPhone after the iPod. But brand extensions also come with risk. If it fails, it can harm the parent brand's reputation, also known as brand dilution. But let's talk about what they found in their research. They conducted a qualitative meta-analysis reviewing 63 articles from 1981 to 2000. And they found that brand extension research falls into two main categories: marketing strategy and consumer behavior. So let's start with marketing strategy. One study cited found that extensions can gain an average of 8.3 more market share points and have 8.7 percentage points lower advertising costs compared to new brands entering that category. But there's also risk of brand dilution. If a brand is stretched too thin or into areas that don't align with its core values, it can lose its distinctiveness. And then second, consumer behavior. The key concept here is perceived fit, which means how well does this new product align with the existing brand in the minds of consumers. Studies show that consumers are more likely to accept a brand extension if they perceive a high degree of similarity between the parent brand and the new product. This similarity can be based on product features, benefits, or even the overall brand image. But the study also found that not all extensions need to be closely related to the original product to succeed. Some research suggests that moderately congruent extensions can actually receive more favorable evaluations than very similar ones. One more interesting finding is that prestigious brands like Rolex have more leeway to extend into different product categories than functional brands. So high-quality brands, they tend to have a resilience that allows them to recover more easily from a failed extension, where lesser known or more functional brands might struggle more. Okay, did that research align with your previous knowledge and beliefs about brand extensions, or was anything surprising?
Yeah, I would say it aligned pretty well. There's always exceptions to the rule. A couple of brands that popped out to me that felt like maybe it didn't align with some of those, but I know we're going to get into some very successful extensions and maybe some that weren't so successful. And largely it felt like what you shared there was true and held true in those examples.
I would agree with that. It reminds me of a book that's been pretty popular at Marketing Architects. That was written by Chris Zook called Beyond the Core. And it looks at what is the success rate that you'll have when you make adjacency moves. And I think a brand is a similar thing. And how far away you go from your core business increases the chance that you won't be successful. And so I think it's a careful thing for brands to be thinking about, and just how far away from their core. And that core doesn't have to be the actual industry. It could be the belief system, like with Dyson. You go from a vacuum cleaner to a blow dryer, it's the opposite, right? You're pushing air versus sucking air, but obviously there's a lot of similar mechanisms at play there. I think the other thing for me personally, as it relates to brand extensions, is it allows the consumer to outsource decision making. And I know I'm always looking to find ways to not be obsessed with the amount of choices that we have now as consumers. And when I trust a brand and they make a new product, I'm going to trust that category more. Maybe I don't have to think as much about all their competitors and just go with that choice.
Well, it's interesting to me that you say that though, Rob, because you're sort of intrigued by these Dyson headphones, and yet you're such a proponent of Apple. Like, would you buy them? Because you like to be in the ecosystem of Apple.
I do. And I think that's a really good example of a close call for me, because I was really intrigued by them. I've even bought Bose headphones in the past, even though I'm such an Apple geek. But then I end up buying the Apple product later because I'm just like, I should have just stayed within the ecosystem. But when I saw the Dyson ones, I'm like, geez, they were very tempting. But in that case, I'm sticking with Apple. It made my decision easier. I'm like, no, I'm just staying with my brand. But when two brands that you love come together, that does become a little bit of a celebrity death match.
Yeah, I found the research pretty interesting, especially the fact that a higher perceived quality brand can have more leeway with extensions. I wouldn't have necessarily guessed that. I also like how much marketing can have an impact here. Like a brand extension can really live or die with the marketing team, which is nice to think about, like more ways marketing can extend themselves. And I also thought it was interesting that the product extension doesn't have to be similar based on the product feature or even the benefits. I think the Dyson headphones are a good example of, like you were saying, Rob, it matches their brand image and it's sleek and well designed. And I think with their fans and even the hair dryer, it's like the hot air is a theme, but the headphones are a little bit different. And it'll be fun to see if that succeeds or fails, because it is a little bit further from their core, maybe a little riskier, but we'll have to see how they do. They're clearly good at marketing themselves.
For sure.
All right. I want to talk a little bit more about what makes a brand extension successful. I think it's helpful to share examples for this one because there are a lot of them. So to prepare for the pod today, we each brought an example of a successful and then a not so successful brand extension. So I thought we could share those and then maybe discuss and debate what principle was it that determined that a success or failure. So Ange, would you like to get us started?
I will kick us off with Uber extending into food delivery with Uber Eats, obviously leveraging their expertise in logistics and their brand recognition to just seamlessly enter this new market of food delivery. I don't know that there's a single principle. I think about the example that I'll give in terms of a brand extension that didn't go as well. I feel like you really do probably need multiple things to go well in order for the market to really adopt what you're trying to roll out. So can marketing save it? I don't know. But some of the things I think about is leveraging that existing brand equity that they have and that consumer. Uber already had established a very strong reputation for being reliable and being convenient in the ride sharing market. And so this existing brand equity that they had made it easier for consumers to trust and adopt Uber Eats as they associate the new service with the positive experiences that maybe they had with Uber from a ride sharing perspective. I also think that one consideration is a high perceived fit and just brand consistency. I mean, I think about your point, Elena, with Dyson. The headphones are a little like, whoa, didn't see that one coming. Feels a little outside the hot air core of Dyson or just air in general. I don't know. Maybe we don't understand all of the capabilities of these headphones. Maybe they fan your ears. Who knows? But the extension from ride sharing to food delivery really aligned well, I think, with Uber's core competencies in logistics and even just real-time data management. Both services are focused on quick, efficient, reliability. So it feels like there's a high perceived fit there and a lot of consistency in terms of their offering. Of course, no one but Uber knows how much research was done before this move was made. But when we think about like market research and insight that company might have, obviously Uber had extensive data on their user behavior and user preferences to really hone and tailor that Uber Eats experience to make sure that they're meeting that market demand effectively. And then I think just regardless of the brand extension and how close it is to the core and how much equity you have, obviously quality needs to be a big focus. If you've ever experienced ordering from a food delivery app and you don't get the food that you ordered and you've got a hungry family and no backup dinner, you know that quality is super important. They already had that quality control in place to meet those expected times and customer service demands. And I think this would need to be adjusted for a new extension into food, but you can see how consumers would trust that if you can get me from point A to point B, then you should be able to do the same for my food. And then I think lastly, does it strategically align with kind of the long-term vision of the company? I think it's hard for consumers to go jumping like way over into a new space. That's back to beyond the core. So this move into food delivery seems to fit well within Uber's broader strategic vision of just being a leading provider of on-demand services.
Yeah, I think that's a great example. And when you were saying that, I was remembering their Super Bowl campaign, which is all about like, don't forget that Uber can deliver you food. And I think you were mentioning how they were set up really well with their mission and with their infrastructure. They're almost like, I don't know if it's their biggest battle, but a huge battle is just mental availability. And when you think to order food, do you think Uber Eats or DoorDash? And it's funny that they must have identified that because their big Super Bowl campaign that's still running is all about, don't forget that Uber can also deliver you food.
Absolutely. There's a ton of convenience to be maximized there, and ensuring that you're coming to mind for the right category is super important. So you could see why they're pushing in that capacity.
Yeah, I've got two thoughts on Uber that I have no data to support one of them. But the
perfect fit for our podcast, Rob. Great.
Here's my only thing is first of all, I agree with you. It is a perfect brand extension when you think about just being able to monetize something that you're sitting on anyways. You've got drivers, and those drivers want to be moving, and that's how they make money. Why not move food? So it's brilliant, and people understand Uber's great at logistics. Here's my only question that it would be interesting to hear some research on. I don't want to know the car that's bringing my food to me or the driver. And with Uber, I know because I've been in them, and they are not the cleanest experience sometimes. And sometimes the drivers scare me. And do I want them bringing my family's food to me versus would I rather not know? It's kind of like sometimes I just don't want to walk in the kitchen because I don't want to see the mouse on the floor. I'd rather just sit in the dining room and eat the food. So that'd be my only question if the research could unpack. Because it's not like it's the nice cars that are bringing you the food. Usually that might get me some hate messages, but I'm here to speak the truth.
In my mind, I perceive DoorDash as a higher quality food delivery service. I use DoorDash. I don't use Uber Eats. And I wonder, Rob, if that has something to do with it. Just my preconceived notions of what Uber is and what they're good at and will they have what I need? I don't think I've even ever opened Uber Eats. So there might be something to that.
First to market is a huge deal, just in terms of whether they're actually first or they were just first in your mind. I agree with you, Elena. DoorDash was the first one I used here in the Minneapolis market, but I've moved away from DoorDash because I have had so many terrible experiences that I finally was like, I am done. We're going Grubhub or anyone else that is willing to bring me whatever I need. So I think that's where that quality control comes into play.
Yeah, in defense of Uber, I too DoorDash, but I find Uber will deliver from restaurants that DoorDash won't. So they just seem to be a little more logistically friendly in terms of where they'll go.
Should I provide my one that isn't a one? Okay. So my example here is, and I actually was too young, I think, to recognize that this was happening, but apparently Bic, the razor and pen company that we all know and hopefully love, attempted to extend into women's disposable underwear in the late 1990s.
Now,
Wow.
why would you need to dispose?
Disposable, like what? Like single use?
Yes, single-use underwear. Well, I actually don't know. I hope it was a single-use underwear. Similar to a razor, I guess, or how many times do you use a disposable razor before you throw it away? I guess it probably
Is this
varies
like
on-
a diaper?
Sort of. Sort of, yes.
It's a new category
So-
of diaper.
My question is, why didn't it work? I could see guys loving disposable underwear. You don't have to do the laundry. You just throw it away when you're done.
Maybe that was part of the flaw. I don't think they went after men. I think they went after women.
Right.
So obviously they're like kind of using the same framework. It was leveraging existing brand equity and that consumer trust. They were known for practical disposable products, pens, lighters, razors, etc. And so there's that utility and convenience, but it really didn't extend into personal products.
That is really dumb. Just the more you think about it, the dumber it gets. Like, how do they sit around a boardroom and go, disposable underwear?
You're right. Maybe men. That might be a great approach. But for women, we're, I think, very sensitive about the quality and we're in a personal category and it just felt a little bit utilitarian, I guess.
Just seems like they'd be uncomfortable. Like if they made a paper and then they hear you walking, you know? I mean,
Well, I think it just led to consumer confusion and hitting on like how much market research or consumer insight did we have ahead of this rollout? It feels like something that's testable, that you're either gonna find success in or not. In terms of strategic fit, long-term vision of Bic, I think this extension appeared as a random diversification versus something in close alignment with where Bic was headed and their long-term goals. So a little bit of a weird one, but a good case story nonetheless.
good one. All right, well, I have one.
Okay.
I think this is potentially the greatest brand extension story ever told for the reason that it shouldn't work. And they didn't really follow any of the rules. And that is Lego. So Legos are awesome, right? Just great toys, little blocks, click them together, make big buildings, all kinds of good stuff. But somehow they were able to pivot. I mean, you talk about beyond the core. You go into things like themed sets. Okay, I'll give them that, right? You take a toy, you make it a Star Wars version. They did that in 1999. They went on to do that with every other commercial property known to man. Okay, give them that one. But then video games about Legos, that's pretty crazy, right? Then you move into movies. We're actually going to make movies about the little brick toys. And by the way, the movie's going to be really great and it's going to do super well at the box office. You're going to do amusement parks around Legos. You're going to build education tools around that. You look at how they just continue to build that empire with things that really have a slight chance of working at best, and they make it a huge success. It's an amazing thing. I think that people love Legos. You know, it's the most overpriced toy that's ever been made when you think about the cost per brick that you pay. But my goodness, who doesn't love Legos? I hate Legos, said nobody ever, except when you step on them, of course.
Oh,
That's
the worst.
that is the worst. But it's genius. It's genius in how they've continued to roll out quality extensions. Because every one of those, when you look at their theme sets, they're amazing. The video games, incredibly fun. Their movies, box office smashes. The amusement parks, everything they do, they're able to build upon themselves, if you will. I just made that up. Get it? Build upon themselves.
You should see if they're hiring. I sort of agree and disagree in that what I think they did there is really identified what do they really sell. They don't sell plastic bricks that lock together. They sell imagination and creativity. That's ultimately where people are after. And so when you start to go, okay, how could we extend that? Then it starts to make perfect sense, you know? But yeah, it's beyond the core. It feels like a bit outside that center ring.
But when you think about literally, if you sat there and said 10 years ago, we're going to make a movie about Legos, like you'd go, feels like a stretch to me. What do you think, Elena?
I think that they're really great at marketing. Even here in Minnesota, we have the Mall of America, and they've got a Legoland. I remember that from when I was little, and the Lego movie is a great example. You know, Barbie copied that same formula, which is basically being great at telling a story and marketing. I think they're really good marketers. It's a great example.
All right, what's your bomb story?
You know, this one is amazing to me because the company is an incredible, iconic brand who's often used as a case study for amazing branding, and that's Harley-Davidson. And they came out with a line of perfume, and that one baffles me. I think about a brand that's known as a hog. What's the Harley hog? It's like, do I want to smell like a hog? It doesn't make sense to me.
Was it both men and women? Do you know?
They did a cologne as well, which I could see that potentially maybe because you're in your leather stuff and you just kind of smell and you want to not smell. But perfume is just a bit too far beyond the core for me. And obviously it didn't do well. So even the greatest brands on earth can extend it a little too far.
I feel like with this one, just thinking about like the Harley-Davidson customer and what they care about, it's not that they don't care about being cleanly, but would think about the values of Harley-Davidson. It's about being outside, community. Listen, I don't know anything about Harley-Davidson and motorcycle gangs, but I feel like if you showed up to your motorcycle gang smelling like Axe deodorant, I think people would be weirded out by that even. So I don't know how much you'd even want to smell like that strong. It doesn't seem like a fit.
Yeah, I think that's probably a great point. The other part of it is, one, do people want to buy it? And then if they did, what do they think it's going to smell like? Exhaust?
If I had to think of something good, I would think like cedar or the forest.
Right.
Outdoorsy.
Right.
Okay, I'll bring us home here. So my success story is one that everyone's probably familiar with, which is Dove. They expanded from just bar soap into all the personal care products we know them for today. That includes body wash, deodorant, hair care, and a lot more. But the big thing they did is they expanded from just products for women to products for men as well. So that helped them grow from about a $200 million brand to a multi-billion-dollar company. And the reason I think this succeeded is there was a strong fit between its original product and the extensions. They also carried through this brand promise of gentle, moisturizing products, which both men and women care about. And they already had this really strong brand equity in the Dove brand. They also kept that consistent brand image. And we all know that they're wonderful at marketing and communications. So that's my first one.
Like it.
Good one.
And then my failure is a lot more fun. So did you know that Evian water tried to expand from premium water to a water bra?
A what?
A water bra? Like a bra you wear in the water?
No, like a women's undergarment that was marketed as a water bra. So this happened back in 2005. They wanted it to be a revolutionary product, but clearly it lacked some fit. There's little connection between bottled water and a water bra.
Is a water bra a thing?
I do remember water bras were a thing. I remember this. So it would be like a push-up bra, but it had water instead of like padding.
Well, it was not a thing for them. Supposedly, they did little to no market testing before introducing the product, which, Ange, you were talking about earlier. That could be a weakness of brand extensions. And no surprise, Consumers didn't see a connection. They also did very little marketing around it. So I think people were just confused between, a premium bottled water brand and a water bra. So rest in peace to the Evian water bra.
Good try.
Good try. Let's just wrap up here. I had a fun question to end with. What is one brand extension that you wish was a thing? So I'll kick us off here because I think everyone knows by now I'm a big fan of Volvo. My idea is Volvo's known for safety, which I stand by despite people disagreeing with me on LinkedIn. Volvo's known for safety. They should create a Volvo smart home system.
Oh.
Ooh.
See?
Okay.
Imagine, Volvo, they're sleek, they're technology forward, they're safe. Let's just extend that safety message. You can go right from your Volvo to your house and
Into your safe home.
into your safe home.
I thought you were going to say Volvo pepper spray, but no, I like that.
I would buy that as well, but smart home system.
I'll go next. You inspired me, Rob, with the Lego. I think that there's a huge opportunity for Lego to get into all things kids, furniture, and in organization, modular everything. Like there's nothing more annoying as a mom trying to help their kids organize their life, their clothes, their desk, their dresser, than not having things fit or not being able to customize certain solutions. And there's so many options out there. If I could just get into one ecosystem, obviously they have mastered how to put things together in unique ways.
That's a great idea. And the furniture could evolve as your kids get older. Just like Legos, you had those crappy ones, but then they work really well with your new Legos. And then I love it. I think it's a great idea.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I really love Reese's peanut butter cups. And I also love coffee. And so I'm like, God, could they come up with, you've got the Reese's peanut butter cups. Could you have Reese's peanut butter K-cups for coffee? Because I really think I would like Reese's peanut butter cup coffee. Now, like all things, I went to Amazon and someone else invented it. So I just bought them. It's actually going to arrive today. But when I was thinking about this, I'm like, that would be really good. I love Reese's. I would love some coffee. And so I'll let you know how it tastes.
My dad always used to say, because he was obsessed with Reese's peanut butter cups too, he would be so mad because he's like, why do they not just sell the quote unquote peanut butter? It's not exactly peanut butter, but he's like, why can't I get a jar of it? I want to use it on a sandwich.
It's just so good.
That's it for this episode of The Marketing Architects. We'd like to thank Ayana Klafhockey for producing the show and Taylor De Los Reyes for editing. You can connect with us on LinkedIn, and if you find the show valuable, please leave us a rating and review. And if you'd like to hear more from us, subscribe to our weekly email newsletter. It's built for marketers seeking research-first analysis of the latest trends. You can go to marketingarchitects.com/newsletter to subscribe. Now go forth and build great marketing. Don't they sell that?
Do they? I know they have Reese's peanut butter, or they used to, but it was like peanut butter. He's saying take the stuff that's in the cup and put it in a jar. Don't change it.
Yeah, they have peanut butter, but you're right. Maybe it's a different formula.
Marketing Architects.